You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, huge shout out to our sponsors. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma. And it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. Adding to that is the Doghouse, and so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too, but I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC, and hopefully our pups will run into each other. What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down at Bedford's Camera. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the podcast someone who is very familiar with content creation and cameras and video and doing epic stuff. I'll link his Instagram down below because it's worth follow. Mr. Hunter Reilley. Hunter, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Yeah, man, excited to dive into it. It's I've following you for a while. I think the first time I saw some of your content was probably like the tornado that went through Yukon, and I'm like, I'm in Yukon. Where is that? As I was sleeping through it, you're sat, in the hot seat driving, passenger seat, with your crews driving around chasing tornadoes. So I'm excited to dive into that story. But you're hot and heavy into hunting season right now.
Yes, sir. We're in the prime of it.
Right,
smack dab in the middle of it.
Something I'm learning to love. I love the outdoors, grew up playing golf, love being outside the country, and just the silence of just being outside. But I'm learning the hunting side of it and the patience side of it, and the fact that you might have to be quiet depending on what you're hunting. And I'm traipsing through the woods. But love being outdoors, and so excited to kind of hear the outdoors world in Oklahoma. I've had plenty of guests on who've talked about being outdoors. Sean McCabe was on the podcast this year, who's executive director of the Oklahoma Wildlife Foundation, Conservation Foundation. So good friends. So I know a little bit, but I don't know enough. So I'm excited to dive into your story and learn more about it. I mean, so what's current state of the union right now? What's big hunting season? What are you busy with? And then we'll dive into, I guess, what your preferred hunt is.
Right. So, I mean, right now, technically we're in the split for waterfowl season. So there's a week split between basically your first half and second half of the season. And so we're right in the middle of that. So kind of made some time to do this during that time. Yeah. Also, you're right in the middle. Well, actually kind of the tail end of rifle season for deer. Archery season's obviously still open. And those are kind of your two main, hunting seasons right now. Your waterfowl and your whitetail.
What do you prefer?
Personally, I mean, I love chasing waterfowl. Obviously, that's what I do. We chase ducks and geese across north central Oklahoma, northwest Oklahoma. But if I get any spare time whenever I'm not guiding waterfowl hunts, I definitely love chasing whitetail.
Okay.
It's a good time.
And the weather's changing. It's getting colder.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of my hunting friends are like thrilled that it's cold in the morning now, and they're 80-degree days in November. Earlier in the year, we're just like, this is not normal for us. Like, where are my deer at, right? They're coming out after dark and kicking off. And then now it's cold, and I just see birds migrating, which I assume for you is great.
Yeah. The first half season started pretty slow because of all the warm weather. We didn't have any cold fronts, which that's a big thing we rely on, during that time. But finally we're getting those big cold fronts that we need to, pushing migrating birds down and all that. So it's starting to pick up drastically. So I think the second half of the season will be, a game changer compared to the first half.
Okay. And you come at it from a content creation, but also a guide side.
Yeah.
So you do both.
Yeah. So I started guiding, originally I started guiding full time when I turned 16, when I could drive.
Oh, wow.
So I just dived into it. I knew from a young age, I don't know if I knew I wasn't cut out for just, your normal 9 to 5 job, but I made it a point my whole life, to find something that I can do in the outdoor because, my mom, my grandparents, my dad, all that, they're all big into the outdoors. So I, uh, I basically just kind of made that
Oh, wow.
life formed around that
Okay.
for the most part.
Before we go back in time and dive into those early experiences and family, growing up around hunting, it's obviously no surprise you are where you are. What's your current preferred setup as far as like, what are you shooting? And we can nerd out here because I'm
Yeah.
like eager to learn.
Okay. Okay.
What's your current setup with, I guess, your bird hunting shotgun, and then we'll go rifle for
Yeah,
a deer.
so for waterfowl, I actually prefer 20 gauge. That's just me. Most people shoot a 12 gauge, but I shoot a Benelli M2 20 gauge, and that's just what I prefer. I personally don't think there's any need for a 12 gauge nowadays, just because your shot shells from whatever brand you're shooting. I mean, really, there's not any advantage to shooting a 12 gauge.
Mhm.
You're getting the same range out of a 20 gauge. You're getting the same knockdown power, all those type of things. So that's just my personal preference.
Okay.
And, I have a lot of guys that I hunt with and work with that also prefer 20 gauge, but, then you have plenty of guys that do prefer the 12
Mhm.
gauge. So it really, it's just kind of what you want to do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's necessarily any benefit to either one, but that's just my opinion on
Yeah.
that.
And then hunting whitetail, what are you shooting there?
Whitetail. So most of the time I just archery hunt,
Okay.
even during rifle season. I actually just went out yesterday and I did kill a doe with a
Oh,
rifle,
nice.
just to get some meat, in the freezer. I kind of had a mishap earlier this season with archery hunting. I made a great shot, I thought, but didn't turn out to be a great shot, and unfortunately, we couldn't recover the deer. Which,
Yeah.
with archery hunting, it comes with it, unfortunately. But I guess, but
Because it
fever got
dies
the best of
slower,
me.
you've got to track it
Well,
and get out
and
of it.
also, shooting whitetail with a gun, you know, it's not just a bullet. I mean, just the sheer energy of that bullet hitting them, creates a cavity, even if you're off, of your heart shot or
Mm.
lung shot you're going after, it creates pretty devastation,
Yeah.
within the animal. But an arrow, you gotta be pretty spot on where you want it. And I thought I was, but didn't play out like that,
Okay.
unfortunately.
What bow
Fortunately.
company do you use?
I shoot a Matthews.
Matthews.
Yep.
There's two main ones, right?
There's actually,
Seems
I
like
would
it.
say, the three
Okay.
big dogs. You have Matthews, Hoyt, and then a PSC.
Okay.
And then you have Bowtech too.
Great.
So,
Okay.
but I use the Oakland
Yeah.
Archery place right down there in Norman, which they're good buddies of mine.
Okay.
They keep me set up how I
Yeah.
need to be. Oh yeah.
Are you like Cam Hanes? Are you practicing every day shooting?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I shoot a lot of 3D too in the off
okay.
season, which for anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's 3D targets are basically just different animal look-alike targets, deer, elk, bear, all sorts of stuff
Yeah.
really. And there's shoots all over the state. I mean, multiple states. They're just all over the place. So I shoot a lot in the off season
Okay.
at those, which you can get pretty competitive with that, but I just like to go do it and have fun. It's
Yeah.
a good time.
Yeah, there's something cool about, and I've shot a bow probably, I don't know, let's say 15 times. My girlfriend's bow, so it's a lot lighter
Mhm.
than I guess probably what I would have
Right.
with pound pressure. But there's something like primal about it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, and then for me, like I grew up in Wales, and if you look back at like the history of Wales back in the day of, hundreds of thousands or thousands of years ago, hundreds, whatever it is, into history, and you look at archers back in the day, Wales is known for the longbow
Right.
in the wars, right? And so
Right.
they had this giant 8 foot, 6 foot type bow, and when they would get captured, if they were captured by the opposition, which was usually the French, I think back in the day, the French would cut off their two fingers, right? So they couldn't go back.
Yeah.
And so to taunt them, they came up with flipping them off with their two fingers, which like flipping the bird in America is kind of like the equivalent of flipping people off with two fingers back home.
Oh,
And
I
that's
did not
kind of
know
where it
that.
comes from.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
Welsh
interesting.
longbow. And so that's my sort of like understanding of it growing up of
Right.
not bow hunting, but from a war perspective, because you're
Right.
shooting arrows from a long distance,
Right.
not necessarily like Legolas and like Lord of the Rings kind
Yeah.
of close stuff,
Yeah.
right? But it is something primal about, and obviously the patience, the skill, the tracking side of
Right.
bow hunting versus taking a shot with a rifle, especially at the distance your bow. You got to be right
Exactly. I
on.
mean, anything archery, 9 times out of 10, you're within 40 yards. So, you're up close and personal. You're, one-on-one with that animal. Rifle hunting, you could shoot them depending on what rifle you're shooting. I mean, you can shoot 500-600 yards plus, depending on your setup. And, which is nothing wrong with that. That's great, but I really like that primitive one-on-one, up close personal experience,
Yeah.
hunting them like that. That's just what I prefer. I think it's a cool
and
deal.
I think I haven't, obviously I don't have much experience hunting, but the idea of tracking something, the idea of like going through the woods and you know, and most of the time you're sat in a blind, right? But that idea of, you know, I've had friends who've gone on elk hunts all over the country, and you know, they're traipsing up and down mountains, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they might not get it, but they're in the woods for 3 days or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Like, that's fun.
the adventure alone, you know, the experience and the adventure. That's why, you know, not only just, you know, having a little place down from your house to go hunt, but, you know, if you make a point to go on a adventure and go on a hunt with, you know, a buddy or two, it's just, there's something about it, you know, there's something about the journey. That's what I really take from hunting, regardless of what I'm hunting, is the experience and the journey that comes along with it. That's the best part of it.
Definitely. Yes, it's satisfying to get, you know, whatever you're hunting and, you know, to go through the process and then, you know, mount it, whatever it is. But then the story comes through tracking,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And I have a podcast. I'm all about stories. So you mentioned mom hunts, family hunts.
Yep.
Let's go back to, you know, like super young age. You're growing up around an outdoors family. I assume you're growing up eating meat as well that they have harvested and
Absolutely.
killed. All the best meat in the world. Tell me about some of your earliest memories of hunting.
Man, there's so many. I mean, one, for instance, is my grandpa used to hunt a lake up by Guthrie whenever it was allowed. It was called It's called Liberty Lake, and they used to allow waterfowl hunting on it. And you know, as a little kid, I used to go to the duck blind with them and just like play with little toy cars. You know, in the bottom. You know, I super young, I couldn't even shoot a shotgun yet, and but I was out there, you know, getting the experience, and you know, just growing up, going to like deer camp with my dad, and kind of being around that camp and just the lifestyle with it. You know, it's just something that kind of forms you, you know, and makes you really appreciate those things. Because nowadays, you know, like for instance, that little deer camp we had, it was just it's like a shack, you know, out in western Oklahoma. Oh, probably about 10 or so years ago, that property caught on fire, it burned down, blah, 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 which that was years after, you know, all that ended.
Sure.
But, you know, it's like those things just
So many
don't
memories.
happen as much anymore. You know, you don't have like a centralized deer camp and all your, you know, buddies and, you know, dad's buddies and stuff get together and go. It was some really good memories and good times. And, you know, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was,
Do you have siblings that go too?
I don't have any siblings.
Okay.
It's just me.
So you get all the attention
I
from
did.
both sides.
I did. And I'm fortunate for that because it definitely gave me a lot of one-on-one time, you know, growing up and hunting all different types of game, you know.
Yeah. So let's talk about then, I guess, earliest memory of succeeding. Do you succeed with a rifle? Do you go duck hunting? Like, what's your earliest memory of
I would say the earliest memory of succeeding would be probably rifle hunting for whitetail.
Okay.
That would probably be the earliest, because I would say predominantly that's what we mainly did. Like I said, we went waterfowl hunting, you know, when I was a young kid, you know, growing up. But we definitely went, I would say, whitetail hunting more often, you know, during black powder and rifle season. And that would probably be the earliest memories. I used to be the camp doe killer.
really?
We'd go, yeah, well, you know, I didn't shoot my first buck till I was probably 10 or so. And so I'd go out there and I'd harvest, you know, my limited does every year, and I was proud of it.
How many would you get?
Normally around 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was your
normally
limit.
around 4. That's about the
Yeah. It's just like,
It was a good time.
I haven't done it yet. I haven't had the opportunity to. Actually, I had one opportunity last year, which was sort of at a max distance of the rifle I was kind of using, and I needed to move. And I'm just like laying in a ditch, like not doing it, like total just like amateur hour. And it's just like random night, sun's going down, losing light. I'm laying in a ditch. I'm like around a bunch of tall grass. And I'm like, if the deer keeps going, it's going to come in the crosshairs, but it didn't. It went like left instead of right. And I'm like, now I have to move. And I made a noise and it was gone.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, is it that hard? You know, like I didn't feel like I made much of a noise, but I made enough, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you got to think, you know, whitetail, especially if you don't have any wind, you know, it's a calm day. I mean, you know, they have predators, you know, not many, but they do. And so they're always very, very alert, and any little thing can set them off, and they're
I was shocked how fast they are.
They are quick.
Right? Like
they can cover some ground. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like, you know, say you're driving down a road or something and there's some deer beside you and they just start taking off, you know, they get spooked or whatever. Good Lord. I mean, they'll run a mile in 30 seconds, you know, and you're like, you start thinking about it, how much ground they cover. And it's like, man, you know, that deer that's 5 miles over there could be over here in a matter of minutes. technically, if
Yeah.
it,
If
if it
someone
wanted
spooks it and
to,
it
yeah,
points
if
this
it wanted
direction.
to. So,
Yeah. So you said you didn't get your first buck until you were 10.
Yep.
Tell me about it.
So, we were sitting on this fence line out at that deer camp I used to go with my dad, and we were sitting there, and a doe walked out, and I told my dad, I was like, I want to kill a buck. That's what I'm going after. A doe walked out, and I was like, I got to shoot it. I couldn't deal with it. I got to shoot it. So I shot it, and she dropped right there. And my dad was like, we've only been here, it was like the first 10 minutes of shooting light. I mean, super early. And he was like, let's just sit here and wait a minute, let's just let everything calm down. Well, about 10 minutes after that, here comes this buck out of the woods. And I guess that doe, she was in heat.
Yeah.
And, he came out and started sniffing her. And I was like, oh my goodness. And so right there, I shot that deer. And so I got a doe and a buck that morning.
Yeah.
And I was pumped. It wasn't anything big, but little basket rack 8-point. I was through the roof.
And you're 10, so it seems massive.
Oh yeah,
And it's
yeah.
your
It seemed
first
like
one.
it. I was like, oh my goodness, look at this
Yeah.
thing. It was great.
One thing that I kind of relate to being in golf, and you get nervous, right? Like there is, and I think that I sort of, with the limited pistol shooting that I've done with Lou, a friend of the podcast, he does competition shooting with USA PSA, I think is what it's called. And he was saying, like, you get nervous, and I related the pre-shot routine in golf to sort of your pre-shot routine as shooting. And it's probably the same with bow too. Like, you're breathing and focus, and like whenever it is that you decide to pull the trigger. But when you shoot a buck, you don't have that much time. Especially a doe with a bow too, you don't have that much time.
Right.
In golf, I have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
But like going through that, having those nerves, having the heart racing, right? Like it's the juice.
It is. It's the juice. It is the juice.
Oh.
It's what gets you going. And honestly, for me, everybody's different. Some people get, super hyped up, and I mean, you start going crazy, before the shot, whatever. I'm the kind of guy, like, after I make the shot, that's when I lose I lose it. I mean, I'm just like shaking, I'm freaking out. Like after the shot, I'm going nuts. But that's what it's about, that adrenaline pump, it's just, it's something special that you don't get, in a lot of aspects of life.
Yeah.
And so it's special. It
It's
is.
so special. So get your first buck at 10. You also get a doe that day. This is big for family. You guys, as soon as hunting season comes around, you guys know what you're doing. You mentioned starting as a guide when you're 16. What are you doing in high school up until those moments that, like, outside of hunting season to keep you occupied, keep your parents happy that you're in school?
Yeah. So I'm a pretty big fisherman too.
Oh, okay.
And when I was young, I used to fish in the Junior Bass Masters, which it's a little different now than it used to be. It wasn't as big as it is now. It's a huge organization now. I mean, it's a big deal, especially like high school fishing teams, all that. That wasn't a thing. And so I used to fish in, bass tournaments when I was young for the Junior Bass Masters, and I did really well. Won state a couple times, always had Angler of the Year, all that stuff. Went to World in 2006, which was in Birmingham, Alabama at Lake Logan Martin. Placed 7th out of, I couldn't even tell you how many. I mean, it was probably 80-ish people. So, and how it was kind of structured was you had a younger age group and an older age group. And so you had 2 people from every state. And then plus you had people from like South Africa, a few other countries. I don't know exactly all the countries, but yeah, so that's what I did, kind of not during hunt season. I'm a big fisherman, which I still am. Not as big as I used to be, but
Still only bass, or do you do fly fishing and all the other?
No, I love everything. I love fly fish for trout. Every year, me and my girlfriend would go up to Colorado with her family and do a lot of trout fishing up there when I'm there. And I used to go up to Branson to Lake Taneycomo. I used to do a lot of fly fishing there, but no, crappie, bass, trout, walleye, saugeye. I mean, really, I enjoy all types of fishing, really. Nothing super specific, but I'm all about it.
That's something, again, me in the last year have really kind of been opened my eyes to this outdoor world, and I managed to, a good friend of mine, the company that he works for, the owner has a part ownership in a fishing lodge in Campbell River in Vancouver, Vancouver Island. And so every year, we've played this golf tournament every year in May down in Artesia, New Mexico. And every year they auction off a trip to this lodge.
Right.
And he's gone a couple of times, and the trip goes for, it's an auction, right? So it's going for 20, 30,000. It's crazy. 4 people, like 2 days of heli fishing, 1 day of like salmon fishing in the ocean, right? So 1 day of ocean fishing on, and then 2 days of heli fishing, and then you can play golf either side or whatever. And so he'd been to his company 10 years, and his boss basically said, like, don't tell your dad, because his dad runs the foundation, his dad runs the auction, but I'm going to give this to you for free. Not for free, it's on the house.
Right.
Bid whatever you want for it. We'll figure it out, but let's like scare your dad.
Yeah.
And so my friend Brian is bidding, and we've been playing golf all day. We've been out on the beers all day. This is at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. We're having dinner. Auction starts, and he just starts putting his hand up. And so Brian's bidding, and his dad's like freaking out, like on stage in front of probably about 500 people. His dad's like, Brian's up again. And his boss is kind of sat behind him, just kind of nudging him, going, just keep going. And so we're all freaking out because we're not in on the joke either. And so he ends up winning it. And I was like, you know what? Like, I've never done this. Heli fishing sounds amazing. Put me in for one spot. And so about 15 minutes later, Robert comes over and grabs Brian by the shoulder. He's like, how much fun was that? And then his dad comes over and he's like, what are you doing? Like, you don't have this money. Yeah. And he goes, well, you didn't tell anybody? He's like, no, we're all freaking out at the table too. And I've had a few drinks. I'm like, what have I just done? And I'm like, I'm had to freak out. And then Robert's like, Brian goes, oh no, it's good. Like, it's on, like, it's a gift for my 10 years at the company. And so we all went in April and never, ever been fly fishing before, which is like kind of going to the Masters and playing golf in my world. Right. Like, I've never been. And I've never been in a helicopter. And so I didn't enjoy, like, flying I'm okay with. And I just sort of kept it together in the helicopter. We went ocean fishing. I threw up everywhere. And so I'm never going ocean fishing ever again. Like, it was awful. It was like freezing cold. Funny. They were catching salmon, having a great time. And I'm just sitting in the boat, just like trying not to throw up. It was miserable. But the heli fishing side, getting dropped off in the middle of nowhere on a river. There were awesome. 6 of us total. The main guide would get out, take 2 guys. The helicopter pilot would then take the remaining 2 down the river, and we'd fish. And then they had radios. Okay, nothing. Get back in the helicopter. We'll go. And we did that all day for 2 days.
That is
and
awesome.
Like, I was learning how to fly fish, right? Which the guide is there, and he's just like slinging it, dropping it wherever he wants to put his fly. Made his own flies. He'd been there since he was 13. He's in his 70s now. Like, he ran rings around us. The fittest guy. He was up before all of us. Food is amazing. But I had just had this appreciation for, like, you're outside, you're in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. No one really knows where you are. If anything happens, like, you're kind of on your own. Yeah. Obviously you're with the helicopter and there's 6 of you there, but like, you're looking up these mountains and like, is this how, like, it truly feels to be completely outdoors? Right? Yeah. Total silence. The water's beautiful because no one really fishes out there. Right. And I just had this overwhelming experience of, like, appreciation for not only fishing, but just the outdoors as well. And yeah, it's cool. You're with your buddies but still, you're just like, and I looked at Clint, the owner, and I was like, you get to do this like every single weekend. He's like, yeah, since I was 13. Yeah. And we'd go back to the lodge and all these cool things of, like, all the things he's caught, all the stories. That's the fun part, the stories, right? Around it. Everybody had, like, he had this trophy on the wall. Every trip that goes out there, everybody votes. At the end of the trip, you all have dinner and you all have like a kangaroo court style situation. You all around the table and you vote on, they call it the prick of the crick. And Brian, my best friend who got us the trip, like, he fell in one time, like, he hit himself in the back of the head with a fly. Like, I thought I was bad. Like, he was, and so it was a unanimous vote. I got 1 vote from Brian because I threw up on the ocean thing, but it was just like the greatest experience of being outside. And then I come back here and I'm like, I need to learn how to fly fish because if I go back, like, I want to be better at it. Because Clint was just like catching fish every single cast, and I'm like 1 in every 30, and my shoulders hurting all the things. But I was just like, I'd go and fish for a bass or fish for whatever on a pond. I'm like, this is so good. Like, it doesn't matter if you catch anything, right? It's so much fun. And you're just out there, and then if you're in your waders or not, like, you're just on the edge of a bank, just like, it's peaceful. And I realized that everybody growing up now, if you're not an outdoors person, you miss all that. You miss the outdoors, you miss the silence, you miss being with your own thoughts, being around really good friends and having great conversation at the end of the night. Like, it just was like an overwhelming experience total. Like, I should do this every year. Yeah. Maybe not go to Canada every year, but like, I should go out with my buddies and fish for a day.
Right. Yeah. It's, I've always said my whole life, like, I don't even know what I would have done without the outdoors. Yeah. And people that don't utilize outdoors and, don't grow up hunting, don't grow up fishing, it's mind boggling to me because I don't know what I would do. Like, I really don't. I have no idea what I would do without it. It is it is the biggest part in my life. And I just think it's crazy that people don't do it. I do. I think it's insane.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
Honestly.
Yeah. talking of the outdoors, and you're right. Like it's, from what I understand, just listening to what you say, like you can't believe that more people don't do this because the experiences that you've had, not only with your family, but also with your friends too,
Mm-hmm.
growing up around it. And then you talk about the land management side of it, the food you get out of it,
Yep.
all of that, which again, the amount of stuff that's in the food that we eat now, if you want to start looking at that thing, it's like Googling a health issue,
Yeah,
the stuff that you see in it, But so fished a lot in high school, competitive fishing all the way through. You turn 16. Do you even think about college and school, or do you just like, I am going to be a guide. I don't need to go to school. Like
Basically,
and then what's the parents' pressure on that too?
They wanted me really to do what I
They get it.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they get it. They're in. They're outdoorsmen.
Yeah.
They know what's going on, and so I really dove hard in to waterfowl and guiding. I loved doing it. I loved hunting, and I was like, well, I'm gonna start trying to guide. And at that time in Oklahoma, it wasn't a big thing, and that's something a lot of people don't realize is there's really not a lot of heritage when it comes to waterfowl hunting in Oklahoma.
Interesting.
Okay, so like you go to Arkansas, you go to Louisiana, you go to those places, for years and years and years, there's long heritage behind it. In Oklahoma, you've always had people that deer hunt, turkey hunt, et cetera, like that. But really back then there wasn't that many people waterfowl hunting, even though it was unbelievable here. It just wasn't something, quail hunting was big, upland, stuff like that, but waterfowl wasn't. And so thank God, that my grandpa and my dad and my family, they did that. So I did grow up around it, and so when I started, guiding hunts, really, there was only a handful of people doing it in the whole entire state. It wasn't a big deal like it is now. Now you have lodges, now you have all sorts of stuff like that. And that wasn't a thing. It was a deal where, you'd have your clients come, they'd call you a day before and say, hey, where do you want me to go? And you'd say, hey, I need you at a motel in Hobart, Oklahoma, or I need you at a motel in, Weatherford, Oklahoma. I'll meet you at this gas station at, 6:00 in the morning. And so you'd meet them there at 6:00 in the morning, you go hunt, have an awesome hunt, and they'd go back to their motel. You'd go scout, get a hunt locked down for the next day, and so on and so on. It wasn't like it was in other parts of the country.
Sure.
Like it is now.
Now it's like 5-star experience.
So, you have multiple lodges all throughout the state, really well known. Like one I work for is FowlCo Outfitters. And don't get me wrong, it's fantastic still. I mean, it's great, but I would call those more of the glory days back then.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the numbers were unbelievable. The pressure, there was no pressure hardly at all.
Okay.
And so it was something special. It really was.
And the pressure, which comes from the expectation of people paying you to guide their hunt to get.
Well, so I'm talking about the pressure on the birds themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the pressure I'm talking about. So, in our area that we hunt, there's 5 or 6 different outfitters, I'd say within a, hour and a half radius, I would say. And so, there's only so many birds, there's only so many goose feeds. There's only so many ponds that have, the equivalent amount of ducks that you need to, provide a once in a lifetime hunt, because that's kind of what you're doing. And so just the pressure in general is a lot heavier than it used to be, which that does have effect on waterfowl to an extent, but you can kind of get around that pretty easily.
So back to the glory days, driving over to some town, staying in Motel 6, people calling you up, taking you. What was the process of you going on a guided hunt? And then obviously, how has that changed in today?
So back then, like I said, you'd have Joe Blow from wherever in the country call you and say they wanted a guided hunt. You say, okay, it's this much, which obviously was hardly anything back then.
Sure.
I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
And, they'd be like, okay, we want to book these days. And so a couple days prior, you'd be like, all right, we're going to be, in this area. Because, I mean, some days we'd be in Northwest Oklahoma. Some days we'd be in Southwest Oklahoma. Some days we'd be in North Central. It just totally depended on where the migration was at the time. Yeah. And you don't know that until you get real close to those dates.
How do you track the migration?
Scouting. By scouting, putting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles on your vehicle.
And that's changed to now? Or is that
no, you still got to do that.
Okay.
But you're more so with lodges and stuff, like nowadays, you don't want to leave, I'd say, about an hour radius, because you have a centralized location. You can't, you have people that are, you're providing a whole experience, with the lodge, with the hunting, everything. So you can't be like, oh, we're going to go stay at a Motel 6 in Western Oklahoma, so you're kind of more confined to your area. So that's kind of how the difference is on that.
So someone would call you, say, hey, we want to book roughly these days.
Yeah. And so they'd you just tell them to fly into Oklahoma City because obviously that's the only place they're going to fly into. And you tell them to just give you a holler when they landed. So they land and be like, okay, yeah, we're hunting western Oklahoma. I need you to get a motel in, I don't know, Elk City, Elk City.
Yeah.
So they drive there, and we'd obviously be scout whatever we were hunting, either geese or ducks that day. And so we'd get the hunt kind of lined out where we were going to go, and we'd call them, tell them where we're going to meet that morning. We'd meet them. We'd go out, set up.
And this is all public land?
No. This is all private.
Okay.
So how that aspect works is you're scouting, say you see a pond or a dry field that has a big feed on it, and you get in contact with a farmer. You either figure out where they live, you figure out their phone number, one thing leads to another, and you get permission.
And then over the years now, you have this giant Rolodex of all these farmers, and
right,
you built it up.
And back then, they didn't care about that stuff. Go hunt, yeah, whatever. Yeah. I don't care. Go for it. Nowadays, you're paying a pretty penny to be able to hunt, which is unfortunate, especially for your younger generation of hunters. Sure. I would hate it, if I was a younger generation now, because really some of those opportunities aren't available. But I tell people all the time, like, don't be afraid to contact an outfitter and just be like, hey, we'll help you set up this morning if we can hunt. Because I know us, with any local people around where we hunt, Garber, Enid area, if they just hollered at us and said that, come on, what's another 2 or 3 guys? Yeah, it's nothing.
And also, you were also that kid, right?
Yeah,
like you were also that kid back in the day who maybe like grew up outdoors, loves to hunt, doesn't have the funds to go to a FowlCo or figure out a big outfitter and have the experience. But it's, it's like you said, we're happy to come out and help out, set up whatever you guys need. Just can we tag along?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's different if the guy's 40 years old and he's got a full-time job,
that's
like he's a CEO and he's crushing it, right?
Absolutely.
And he shows up and he's got $1,000 gun and you're like, wait a second, but the kid side of it, like that's, because you're fostering next generation, right?
Well, and a lot of people, especially people in the local area, some frown upon the outfitting, all that, which I understand. But if they would just contact us and see if they could tag along, help out or something, that's no problem. Yeah, it's no problem at all. So
awesome. That's good.
If you're out there and you look at this, just hit us up. It's not a big deal.
And so 16, you start driving all over the state, guiding hunts. Back in the glory days. Yep. How long does that last for?
So I would say roughly until I was about 21. That's when it kind of started to change. You started to have a real heavy influx of out-of-staters coming in and, trying to make that. They discovered it. Basically, that's when it really started getting discovered, that it was amazing out here. Like, not like anywhere else. It's an amazing place to waterfowl hunt.
You struck
and and they're like, oh my gosh, there's nobody out here doing this. Like, we can come out here and do this. And so that's kind of when you kind of had that influx of around then, roughly. Yeah. So around 10-ish years ago.
When do you start picking up a camera and all this stuff?
Probably around when I was 18 or 19. That's kind of when you started to see, high quality photos of the waterfowl world. And I thought it was really neat. And so, I'd always try to take cool pictures with my phone and stuff like that. And one of my good buddies that hunted with me quite a bit, he had a I thought it was a nice camera back then. It wasn't the greatest camera, but I
had a camera dedicated to take
absolutely. And he was like, man, I'm going to get a new camera. Do you want this? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, I think it's cool. Like, yeah, I'll take that, And so I started just started shooting photos and stuff, of waterfowl, birds, wildlife, all that stuff. And I just thought it was really neat. And obviously from then on, I just progressed, upward from there and got pretty big into it. Yeah. So that's kind of when it started, though.
Yeah. Has the content side of things helped your business too by documenting your hunts and stuff?
I mean, as a business in general, absolutely. You want to have good content of what's going on. I don't do a whole lot of it nowadays. I really don't. For FowlCo, we have a couple guys that come and do it because, I mean, when I'm guiding a hunt, there's not really, time to be doing that. But I mean, content from a business aspect of an outfitter is definitely
huge,
super important. You want your name out there. You want to be showing, good hunts. You want to be showing everything aspect about it,
And the
in a
cool side
positive
of it
way.
from someone who would come to hunt as well is like you want those cool video of the story, right? You want to go home and show your buddies of like this is a
Yeah.
sick photo, which makes sense on the content side for FowlCo and other outfitters. Is that you probably have guys on staff that just shoot content.
So
right?
we used to have it in-house where they were there all the time. Now I would say they come, I'd say about 2 weeks out of the month,
Okay.
roughly like that. But that's plenty.
Do you guys
honestly.
bring their own sometimes?
I would say every once in a while. So we have a couple industry weekends, and so like our companies that support us and stuff, they'll come in.
Sure.
Obviously, a lot of them shoot photos
They
and
need
videos.
content for
Yeah,
their guns
absolutely.
and
So
their
you have
blinds and
a
everything,
lot of
you know,
that going on,
Okay.
at that time too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just a big smorgasbord of all sorts of different
Yeah.
videos and photos from a lot of different people
It's so much
that
fun.
make it all work.
Yeah. So when you turn 21, like last kind of 10 years ish is what has happened to commercialized, you'd say, the
Right.
business as far as like
Commercializing it.
more people involved, people realize how good it is here,
Right.
money starts flowing in, lodges start popping up.
Yep.
You see the industry change. What happens there? Obviously you double down and this is your world, right? This is going to be your career.
Yeah, so thankfully, FowlCo was one of the very first waterfowl lodges in the
Okay.
state. And so luckily I guided two of the owners, Josh Teff and Harold Long, back when I was guiding and before the lodges and all that. Thankfully they liked me enough and they offered me a job when they even had the idea of it being built. And so I was like, yeah, if that happens, absolutely. Cause you hear things,
Sure.
down,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, if that happens, whatever, like that's probably not going to happen. Well, it did.
It
And
happened.
so here we are now, and so I was just fortunate enough to, I guess, meet the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
And got in early enough into that whole industry that popped up that I was able to be there for it and still here.
Yeah. Talk me about like the guide, actual like the process and what makes you very good at what you do, and the reason clearly that they saw something in you because you took them on a hunt, but also like the skill that you've developed over so many years of being in there since you turned 16 of being a guide. What do you look for?
So I
don't need you to give all your secrets away.
yeah.
But
So
like,
the main thing to a guided hunt is obviously the client's experience. Not only is that the hunting aspect, because that's honestly a lot of that's the easy part, providing a really good hunt. And something I've said for years is being a guide, you're there to provide a once in a lifetime experience
absolutely.
every day of the season, which that can be hard sometimes depending on the migration. So that's just one aspect of it, is a good hunt. You got to be personable. You got to have a good time with the clients. You got to show them a good, it's the whole experience at that point, especially being at, an outfitter, being at the lodge. It's the whole experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really the secret to it, because if you do have a bad hunt, you got to show them a good time. You got to, you got to make them happy. I mean, that's what they're paying you a premium to basically come on a once in a lifetime hunt, or just, really good experience. So
Okay.
it's kind of how that works.
Yeah. It's kind of the same in the golf world. If you're a caddy, right, you're out there having a good time. So
Right.
you're going to play, for the most part, they're not going to play great, which is just how golf is. Elevating their experience to make
Right.
sure that when they go away, it's cool to hit, to shoot the ducks and be successful and have those photos and videos of all the ducks lined up and all the things. But like I said, they're going to remember
Yes.
the stories, the people, and the conversation,
Yeah.
and hopefully come back.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of it. I mean, that's probably a bigger part of it than just the hunting, because not anybody, but anybody, can provide a really good hunt, but it's everything else that, matters a lot more on top of that.
So you've been at FowlCo since
day
the
one.
Inception. When was it started? What was the launch date?
So 2016
Okay.
was the year that it
Coming up on
started.
10 years.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. That's
so
really
we're
cool.
9 seasons in, and it's flown by. I'll tell you that. It doesn't feel like it,
Right.
but it has, and we've been grinding ever since, just hammering down.
Yeah. So if someone reads this, listens to this, sees us, what can they look forward to if they book a hunt with you coming out to FowlCo?
They can look forward to a absolutely fantastic experience at the lodge. The food is fantastic. The hunting 9 times out of 10 is absolutely unbelievable. Depends on the migration, because sometimes early season it just, you might not have quite the bird numbers. But it's just a really, really good place, and everybody there, they're such good people. Like, everybody, me plus other guides, the owners. I mean, it's a special place.
Yeah.
It really is.
What's the typical hunt day look like?
Typical hunt day. So we get up, I would say anywhere from 3:30 to 3:45 every morning.
Okay.
go to wherever that is we're hunting, whether it's a goose hunt or a duck hunt. And then, however long it takes for the clients to get there, that's when they leave. So I would say anywhere between 5:30 and 6, they get picked up in our vans that we have, and they get driven out there, drop off. We get them in the blinds, give them a safety speech, all that.
Yeah.
And get to hunting. And then
Yeah.
so after that, after the morning hunt, they come back, they have lunch, and kind of hang out at the lodge. We have a 5-stand shooting course, which they can do. We have upland hunting in the evening that they can do.
Is that for quail?
For pheasant.
A pheasant? Oh,
Mhm.
nice.
Yep, for pheasant. And we also have it's starting to get finished. It's not quite done. We have kind of a tactical shooting range
cool.
as well. We have a pretty cool instructor to be. He's a retired Green Beret, and so he's pretty good at that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
which that's kind of a new thing just now.
Okay. Are you providing equipment? Do people bring their own?
Yeah.
What's that
So
level like?
you literally, all you have to do is show up if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want, you can bring your guns. You can bring whatever you want. But we have a pro shop. If you don't have any clothes, say it's your first time hunting, because we do get a lot of that, especially with corporate groups. You'll get a few guys that have never hunted before. And so and that's something nice too. We can take them out on the 5-stand course, teach them, the basics of the shotgun, teach them how to shoot. The pro shop, they can get any gear they need. And so, yeah, I mean, there's everything. We have guns you can rent.
Yeah.
We provide all the ammo. You don't have to bring ammo.
Okay.
So, I mean, really, you literally just have to show up.
Full white glove service.
Oh yeah, full on.
It's so
full on.
awesome.
You don't have to lift a finger except lifting your fork off that plate to eat.
That's so good. Okay, we're gonna finish up with some fun hunting questions, and then we're gonna switch to the storm chasing.
Okay.
That is something we want to talk about.
All right.
But I have some questions from a listener, aka my girlfriend, sending me questions. Funniest hunting trip you've ever been on?
Funniest?
Yeah.
Funniest.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
a
a
good
tough one. Probably any time either me or one of my fellow guides, if you're hunting water, you might trip and kind of fall in the water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always
Yeah.
pretty funny. But other than that, man, that's a tough question. Funniest? I don't know. I mean, we're always cracking jokes
You're always
and
having a good time.
just always having a good time.
What's your pet peeves when you're on a hunt?
My pet peeves.
Yeah.
Probably. So one thing I give in a safety speech is make sure you don't shoot until the shot is called. That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, which that does not happen like at all. But that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. And what I mean by that is, you have 8 customers, and say you're working a group of birds, and obviously, your customers 9 out of 10, they don't know how to read birds, because that's what you're doing. You're reading birds, you know what they're doing. And so say you're on a goose hunt and you land, 5 geese, and there's a wad of 200 out here that are swinging, about to come in and do it.
Yeah.
Say one guy jumps up, and just starts shooting those 5. Well, he just kind of screwed that whole
Screwed
thing up for
everybody,
everybody else, and so
fair.
like, I know what the birds are doing. We know what the birds are doing, and we're going to call a shot at the best opportunity. And so that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves is if somebody decides to shoot before the shot's called.
How do you call the shot?
There are a ton of different ways. If we have a big group, sometimes we'll use a whistle, just because, normally the guides are on the end of where the clients are. And so, to get everybody to hear, we do that. But a lot of times just like kill them or shoot them right there, boys, or something
Yeah.
like that along those lines.
Let them have it.
Yep.
Yeah. What is your must-haves when you go hunt?
Must-haves, if it's cold, well, hot hands, but they a bunch of different brands make them. It's just kind of like it's like just a little insulated hand muff.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'll tell
like
you
a
right-
quarterback.
I'll tell you right now.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put some hot hands in there, because the 2 things that get cold on me are my feet and my hands. And because I don't wear gloves at all, hardly ever. If I'm setting out decoys and set stuff, I will. But why I'm hunting, because honestly, gloves are a pretty dangerous aspect when you're shooting a shotgun. You can't feel the trigger, you can't feel the safety very well. And so I don't wear gloves when I do any of that.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But yeah, so that's probably one of my must-haves is a little heater muff.
Okay.
deal.
Last one on the hunting side, which this is not just hunting, but generally everything. Your 3 must-have guns.
3 must-have guns. This is covering.
Everything. Just let's just, if it's easier for you, let's just relate it to hunting.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you have plenty.
If I'm waterfowl hunting, obviously a 20 gauge Benelli M2. That's what I shoot. If I'm turkey hunting, I personally shoot a single shot 410.
Okay.
That is what I prefer on that. If I'm deer hunting with a rifle, it's probably either with a 308 or a 300 Win Mag.
Okay.
That would have to be
Those are your 3 setup.
that would be my little combo.
Add on to this, what's your daily carry?
20 gauge Benelli M2
Okay.
for waterfowl. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
predominantly do.
What about just daily carry drive?
Oh, just daily carry. I have a Smith & Wesson 9mm that I carry in my truck. And then a lot of times I'll, maybe have a small rifle in my gun. In my truck or something, for varmints or something like that. I shoot a 204 Ruger for that.
Okay. Yeah. That's the stuff that I'm learning. I got my first pistol, which is also a Smith & Wesson 9mm for my birthday. It's fun to have, and I'm growing up back home, not being around the gun culture or just everything in general. Being out here now almost 15 years, I get fully on around it.
Yeah, you're in it.
I get it. But yeah, that's cool. One thing we haven't talked about is dogs and trucks. So let's talk about the dog side of things, because I've got 2 golden doodles. They sleep in bed with me. They're as far from outdoor dogs.
That's funny. I do have a golden doodle too.
Okay, great.
I actually do.
But like from the hunting dog side, it's amazing. They're a huge part of what you do.
Yeah, they're a huge aspect.
And they're not cheap.
No, they're not. They're not.
So I'm learning all about the hunting dog side of things. So how's your hunting dog experience been in your career?
I've been around some absolutely fantastic dogs. Obviously everybody that I work with them around, they all have their own dog, and some have multiple dogs. Because when you're running every day in a guided world, those dogs, they're working hard. And so sometimes you have to have, a couple different dogs that you can rotate in and out, because they do get worn out, especially a lot of our dogs, they are getting a little bit older, and so they're slowing down a little bit. So definitely got to give them their much needed breaks.
And they stay on site at the lodge?
Yeah. They stay up there with us at the guide quarters. God, I don't even know how many we have. We probably have 10 or 12 dogs at any given time.
And do you have a preferred breed for the hunting dogs?
Labs.
Black labs?
Black labs, yeah.
Okay.
But I've had yellow labs. I like yellow labs. I've seen a few good chocolate labs, but I would say predominantly the black labs would be the ticket.
Tell me about your doodle. How's that happen? It's not something I would have expected out of you.
I have 3 doodles. So
you got me beat.
Yeah,
too.
I got a golden doodle, a Bernedoodle, and another Bernedoodle that is I don't know the technical terms, but it's like a little more poodle than Burns. But so I have 3 doodles that stay at the house.
What are their names?
One is Mabel, one is Murphy.
Okay.
And the other is you've made me have a brain fart.
That's awesome.
Good Lord.
How old are they too?
I don't even know my dog's name. I can't believe this.
That's all right.
Anyway, they're all around 5.
Okay. Oh, you got them all roughly around the same time.
Yeah, they all got.
Are they all from the same mom?
Nope. So
okay.
So the golden doodle and the Bernedoodle, we got at the same time, and then the other Bernedoodle we got. Well, I guess it would have been 2 years, so she's probably about 4.
Yeah, mine are 8 and 6.
Yep.
They don't listen. 2 girls.
So it's funny. So one of our Bernedoodles is honestly probably one of the best dogs I've ever had in my life. Fantastic. Listens. One of the nicest. Just honestly, just a good dog all around. Yeah. The others, they're pretty feisty and they're full of it, but. Yeah, so I have those 3, and then I have my black lab.
Awesome. Having my doodles in the country is the funniest thing to see, because they get groomed, they got their bandanas on, floppy hair, and then they're outdoors getting knee deep in ponds and covered in crap. And I'm like,
that hair is not
just paid $200 for them to get groomed, and now I'm gonna have to hose them down outside. Oh, yeah. But that's awesome. I did not expect you to say you have doodles. And that's great. So. From doodle ownership, you storm chase too.
Yeah,
you sit like shotgun in a storm chasing
I do.
truck. Is that your personal truck that you take, or somebody else's? You've got a pretty sweet setup out there.
Yeah, no. So we take Brandon's truck, which I'm Brandon Pinnell's chase partner for News 9.
Okay,
here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And his personal truck is a chase rig. It's wrapped with the News 9 and the whole 9 yards. But that's what we take.
How did you fall into that?
I was really lucky. That's all I will say. Knew the right people. That's something else growing up as a young age.
Yeah.
Is I love storms. And I actually, from a really young age, I would, not hardcore chase tornadoes, but if there was one close by, I'm going to go check it out and, do the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And so, throughout those years, I learned a lot of different aspects of it and went from there. But one of my dad's good buddies, ironically, was friends with Brandon. And I just happened to go on a fishing trip with my dad and that buddy. And we were talking and I was like, man, I'd really like to go take photos on a chase with News 9, just because, growing up in Oklahoma, that's, in my opinion, that's the best. Like News 9 is,
Right.
the jam.
They've got all the shots for the most part, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Do they have the most
so,
chasers as well on staff as well? Or not?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we do. We have the largest chase team in
Yeah.
Oklahoma for sure. And
I just had Jim Gardner on the podcast.
oh, did
It
you?
was awesome. Yeah,
That's
Jim
cool.
it was so awesome.
That's cool.
Just
That's cool.
hearing his stories of chase.
I'm sure he has plenty of pretty
He's
awesome
got plenty of
stories.
stories. Taking hail through the window.
Oh, yeah.
60 mile an hour.
Oh,
All
yeah.
the things. I haven't had on anybody else from any of the teams yet. I had can't forget his name. Guy in Tulsa, awesome dude, great. He also chases. I think he's at News 4, maybe in Tulsa. Can't remember his name. Same thing.
Yeah.
I will remember. Great dude. But so I'm aware of it. But you're right. Like we grew up watching Twister. It's
Oh, yeah.
Homer's at News.
Well, yeah. I mean, even on the original Twister,
Yeah.
you got Gary England.
Yeah.
First scene, ripping. I mean, that.
Yeah.
And so growing up, you always idolize those guys. Especially if you're super interested in weather and storm, you're like, man, those guys are
this is
the
place
jam.
to
Like
be.
that's the place.
Yeah.
Anyway, my dad's buddy was friends with Brandon, and I just mentioned to him, I was like, man, I'd really like to go take photos, on a chase, and he was like, well, I can make that happen. I was like, well, that would be awesome, like, well, let's do that, so he gave Brandon my phone number, and long story short, he gave me a holler one day when they were going to chase, and I met up with him at his house, and we went, and we ended up just becoming pretty good buddies over that first season.
Yeah.
And anyway, after that first season, he just kind of hit me up and was like, hey, would you like to be, one of my chase partners?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that would be.
So you did a full season.
Yeah, I did a full storm
Yeah.
season with him, just basically just going, just,
Sure.
taking photos and, help him out with navigation and stuff. Cause that's mainly, you're running the camera and navigation when you're in the passenger seat. That's your main job. He's focusing on driving, focus on where we need to be, all that.
Dodging all the idiots that are out there too.
Yeah, because that can be a job altogether, especially on a high-end day.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, you've never seen so many people in your life. I mean, you'll get
in harm's way.
Yeah, you'll have thousands upon thousands of people from all over the country
just caravanning around.
Oh yeah, I mean it. Like you're talking like Dallas 5 o'clock traffic in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, and there's a downfall to that because it holds us up pretty heavy, but that's a different story for a different day. But so I did a whole season with him, and he offered me to do that. He was like, yeah, I'll talk to David, and see if we can't do that. And well, here we are. And
what year was that?
So that would have been 23.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty recent.
Yeah.
Pretty recent.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, I've been.
So you've done 23, 24, 25, you did 3 seasons. And what's your season?
So the main chase season, I would say, you can have some early systems that produce tornadoes in March and sometimes late February. But the main season is from April till about mid to late June. Okay. That would be the brunt of it. Trust me, you can have a fall season. You can get some pretty good systems come through, in October, September, even November. So that fall season just kind of depends. But the main season's that, from April to the mid to late June.
I have so many questions. That's so awesome. Okay, take me through that first season. Are you like taking, what's the first big tornado experience?
So like I said, I've chased tornadoes my whole life. People probably call me a liar, all sorts of stuff.
You're good.
When I was 5 years old,
true. Yeah.
May 3rd, 99, a 5 that came through Moore. Okay. The big bad dog. So it started down by the town I lived in Fletcher, Oklahoma, down towards Lawton. So my mom and me, we went out to the edge of town and looked at this tornado, right? Well, we ended up just following it all the way to Oklahoma City. Yeah. So the first tornado.
Behind it the whole way.
Behind it, yeah.
Sure.
So the first tornado I ever chased was May 3rd, 1999.
Was the daddy.
The daddy of them all.
Yeah.
Which, looking back, that's crazy and ironic that was my very first tornado I was 5. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And so, she's adventurous too, so, it just makes sense. But yeah, so we chased that. So, after that, just growing up, we'd go look at tornadoes my whole life, and chase them. And obviously, so on, learned a ton about, not just tornadoes, but, the systems and how everything works and, all the parts that go into it. But yeah. And so the first year that I was with Brandon, the first chase, we saw about 5 clouds and some blue sky. So we just kind of sat there and
you just drove hundreds of miles around the state.
Yeah. And just, having a good time, just, BSing and, cutting back. But the second chase would have been the Cole tornado, the F3 that went through Cole. And that was a pretty ratty time. We were probably no more than a mile from it initially when it was southwest of Cole, Oklahoma. And we jumped out in front of it, got on the east side of Cole when it was coming through Cole, and got some pretty sweet photos and videos of that.
Yeah.
And after that, yeah, we were on that same storm when it went through Shawnee later after dark that night. We probably saw 1, 2, 3. We probably saw 5 or 6 tornadoes that day, all mainly out of the same supercell.
Yeah.
But some little rope tornadoes. And then when it gets dark, that can get kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
We had a little sketchy call in Shawnee, but it was all good.
Like just in the way, like where it's kind of coming.
Well, yeah, so, every once in a while you'll have some radar lag.
Oh, okay.
And so if the storm's moving pretty quick and you're trying to, make a move on it and get where you need to be, sometimes it can get a little sketchy, especially in the dark. Right. All you're going off are power flashes or lightning, depending on if it's on the ground or not. So that can always be a big factor in that, but it's a good time. And we've seen some absolutely phenomenal tornadoes since then. Yeah. One of my favorites actually wasn't even in Oklahoma. It was in Matador, Texas. I guess that would have been 2 years ago. And man, that was a phenomenal. Yeah,
Perfect for capture.
Well, it wasn't at first. It started as a big cone tornado just north of town, and it was traveling south, and it ended up coming into town. And when it was in town, it was pretty rain wrapped. You really couldn't see, but as soon as it cleared that south side of town, it started to weaken pretty drastically. Anyway, the rain the shroud went away from it, and you could see it. And I mean, it was just a beautiful, beautiful tornado. I mean, it really was just super pretty, which, they are a super dangerous and horrifying thing for a lot of people, but I mean, they're super interesting. And that's one thing that I love about them, just, how interesting and just crazy they are. If you really think about it, they're just they're insane thing. They're crazy, and I just think they're really neat.
Well, just to be at that level, to see one up close, be in that experience, and then also capture it. I would assume it gives you the same juices as hunting.
Oh, it does.
Right? Like,
oh yeah, you get that adrenaline rush. You get one of the biggest adrenaline rushes I get is like, say you're near town or something, you're coming through the town and tornado sirens are screaming. You might not have a tornado on the ground, but there's just something. I don't know. It gets me.
Yeah.
It does something to me.
That way. Going that way.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. It's a really cool experience.
And gives you something to do in your off season.
Yeah. And I would definitely, if you don't know what you're doing, don't go do it, because it can be very, very dangerous, but it is something really special to experience, I would say.
Last year I had Jordan Hall on the podcast, who's in riding in Reilley,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And told some crazy stories too, but he's on the drone side too, right? He's flying drones into there, and he had this capture, and they're like, there's one kind of, they went viral multiple times, but there's one where like the dog uses the Dominator as shelter.
Yeah.
And stays
I
alive,
that
right?
video. Yeah,
and then there's another one where like he's flying the drone. I think he's in Kansas somewhere, and like he's flying the drone and captures them driving into it and hunkering down and watching the tornado go over the top of it. And it's just like, you're right to think about what this has been created and how this is. It is nuts, right?
It is.
Like, it's so fascinating of science and wind and weather and all these things to come together to create this, like, it's destruction and hopefully no one gets hurt.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's a reality. But just the anomaly of it.
It is. Yeah. Just the anomaly of it in general is such a fascinating
Which is why it draws people from all over the world.
Yeah. I mean, you do. I mean, because some of those chase tours, I mean, you'll have people from China, Japan, I mean, all over the world.
Yeah.
They want to come and see one because, there's not very many places that get them.
No.
There really is.
Uh-huh.
And so this is obviously kind of the epicenter of that.
Dream hunt day, dream chase day. Like, are you picking which? How do you choose between
Man,
them?
that's tough. If I had to pick one or the other, man, that's tough. I mean, first off my head, I'd probably pick dream chase day, honestly. I mean, I don't know, it does something to me.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on what it is, but it does something to me. And even talking about it,
I can tell you're feeling lit up.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like,
it gets me going.
Yeah.
I love it.
What did the movie get wrong then? What did Twisters get wrong?
The new one or the old one?
But why not both?
The old one's
pretty good.
A lot of science behind it. It's for the most part. The new one, there's some stuff that's pretty on track, and then there's stuff that's pretty far fetched.
Yeah.
Really, it's kind of half and half on the new one.
Were you guys involved in the new one at all?
No, we weren't. We had the opportunity to, but they didn't want to do it for whatever reason, and so we didn't. I believe 4 did though.
Okay.
It's 4 or 5.
Someone did, so
Yeah,
there's
somebody
people
did.
in it.
Yeah.
And I went to the screening, and they mentioned like that there were real chasers like helping them do things, and then they were all like, one day they're like, they just left to go hunt to really go chase tornadoes.
It's funny during turkey season. because they did a lot of filming up there north of Fairview,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. That's where like the gas station scene is and all that. And I'd pass them every day and I'd be like, man, look at all that stuff going down. I was like,
So
that was
cool.
pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so Chasing Tornadoes season's going to come up early next year. If you have a spare seat, I would love to experience it once.
I'm sure we can do
like
that.
just see what it's like, because I had a friend of mine, Matt Payne, sat with, I think they did he was with Val for a season.
Yeah.
And they filmed a documentary.
Yep.
And he was saying that like it's the craziest experience.
It is.
But he also said like he had these awesome experiences. He mentioned so many people, like the craziness that people don't understand is the traffic out there, like you said. But he also said, he's like, they got caught one time, turned down a dirt road, got stuck. And he said that like you're in the middle of nowhere, you know, like hoping that someone, and he said the two most random people showed up, like that you would not ever think that would show up on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, drunk off their ass, and pulled them out of a ditch and got them on the road. And he's like, I'm forever grateful for these two random. They were steaming, chasing tornadoes drunk, which is like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you even doing?
But he's like, I'm grateful they were there because they pulled us out. That documentary, I haven't seen it, but I know it's out. I need to watch it. But I would, that's one thing I would love to experience.
Yeah, I'm sure we can make that happen.
Oh, that'd be so awesome. So that's your sort of off hunting season gig is with Brandon on the road.
Yep.
What's Brandon's socials?
It's Brandon Pennell.
Brandon Pennell.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's got Instagram and Facebook.
Where's he based?
And Twitter and X, I believe.
Okay. Is he based in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, he lives in Moore.
Oh, okay.
Right there by Heyday, basically.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So he's based here.
Yep.
And then FowlCo is where you're hunting out of.
Which is in Garber.
Okay.
North Central Oklahoma.
And are you doing, obviously we've talked about waterfowl, are you hunting a bunch of other stuff as well out there, or was it mainly waterfowl?
Oh yeah, so me and one of my best buddies, we own a turkey outfitter. You want to talk about juggling. In the springtime, that's what turkey season is.
Okay.
Also tornado chasing. Thank God we have some really good guys that help us out too during turkey season. So on those days that I need to leave and go chase, everything's covered and all that. We do that out in West Central Oklahoma.
Okay.
West Central Oklahoma, out by Weatherford.
What struck that up? Like, why did you want to start turkey?
Oh, we love turkey.
And have your own business as well, right?
So, well, we love turkey, and obviously, I mean, that's something else that is very, very high on the list. I mean, it's top tier. And we've been doing it for about 6 years now.
Okay.
And, we were just like, why don't we start, guiding turkey hunts? It'll, bring some more income in the off season. And also we love doing it. So why not? And we don't do it in a big, large scale. Yes, we do have a little lodge that you come, meals included, all that 9 yards. But turkey hunts kind of more of a one-on-one aspect.
Yeah.
You're only taking 1 or 2 guys at a time, and it's real personable. You're getting in close to them on the roost. They fly down, come into your decoys, or if you're running, gunning midday, that's always fun too. But turkey hunting's a super, super fun thing.
Okay. We're going to take a lot of bucks this year. What else? Well, I mean, before we finish up, for people listening, go to Hunter_Reilley on Instagram, and I'll put the link in the description. You go click that, follow Hunter. What are the things that like we've missed? What do people know you for that we haven't talked about yet?
We talked about
hunting, chasing tornadoes, content.
Yeah, photos. That's really the main 3, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean,
big into music?
I mean, personally, but not,
I mean, you're on the road so much.
Yeah,
okay, let's talk about
I listen to a lot of music
so much.
I listen
what
to
are you listening to? What are the podcasts? Like, what do we? I mean,
I really
so much time.
I really should listen to more podcasts. Probably.
Yeah.
I've thought about it, but I just haven't. I'm a big music person. I mean, you want to talk about what do I listen to? Well, what do I not listen to?
Okay.
I mean, you're talking. I listen to obviously Red Dirt Country.
Yeah.
Older country. I listen to a lot of rock. I listen to a lot of like 60s and 70s rock, a lot of classic rock, I mean, a lot of everything, man. Like, I mean, you could name it and I probably know it.
You spend more time in a vehicle than anybody else.
Yeah, I don't even, I mean, our little Spotify thing, at the end of the year gives up, I'm sure it's going to be some ungodly amount of minutes listened to. Because, I mean, scouting, even for waterfowl, you're scouting at least, 3 hours a day, at least, if not more. And so,
what's your average step count per day? Your step count must be through the roof too.
Yeah, it's a lot. I don't know what it would be. I don't know. But it's got to be a pretty good number.
Okay, this is something that we're going to have to do like every couple of years because there's so many stories that we're never going to cover with more time. But I'll finish with this. My day job's in real estate, and so I usually finish with this one question. If you were to build your dream house today, what is your dream house? Where would it be? What comes to mind?
It'd be in Northwest Oklahoma on as much land as I could possibly get. It would obviously be a barn dough style type house. Nothing too crazy. Probably around, I don't even know how many square foot. Nothing crazy though, like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath type setup. Barn dough with a nice shop connected to it, and that'd be it.
Toys, vehicles?
Yeah, vehicles, bass boat, maybe a side-by-side, and on some pretty sweet Northwest Oklahoma land.
Walk-in gun room?
Walk-in gun room,
Right.
Yeah, I'd take one of those.
Awesome. Well, dude, thanks so much for coming down. Awesome to follow everything you do. I'm glad we got to finally sit down together and do this in person, not on Zoom, because it's much better in person, right?
Absolutely.
Bring you back to Bedford. They got some great stuff out there, but excited to keep the journey going, excited to follow along. Go follow Hunter on the Instagram down below. Yeah, wish you I wish you Merry Christmas, but wish you a successful season of tornado chasing and hunting next year, and look forward to coming out and experiencing it myself. It's a bucket list thing for me. So
Absolutely.
throw both of those things off and enjoy a successful duck hunt out with you guys at FowlCo, and then a successful tornado chasing season would be awesome. I'd love to do that. Follow Hunter, I'll put his Instagram and content down below. Follow Brandon down below too. And we'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too, but I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC, and hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.